Well, hello, and thank you for joining me today as I show you how to change the front brake pads and rotors on a 2005 Lexus RX330. Pretty straightforward process. Let me go ahead and adjust right here. First thing we need to start off with is removing the calipers, and that's done first by removing these two bolts back here. See, you got one right here and then another one right down below right there. 17 millimeter, so we'll go ahead and remove those, get the caliper off, and then we can go ahead and change out the pads and then the rotor. So I've already broken these free, so that's why they're kind of easy to get started. Go ahead and remove the bottom one all the way, so it'll hang from the top. Okay, that should be enough to get it with our hands here, fingers. All right, there's one. Now the top one. Okay, wiggle the caliper off there. Alright. Pads aren't too bad. They're not really that worn at all. Let me go ahead and support this so it's not resting on the brake hose. There we go. And now we got the rotor to remove, but if you see right here, you have a couple holes. One here, one here. If you get, I believe it's a 8 millimeter by 1.25 pitch, and get a bolt, and that'll help pop these loose right here. So they're probably rusted in there pretty good. There we go. Do a little bit on each one. Don't want to go too far one way or the other. Oh. That's all it took. Probably could have popped that off by hand. Okay. Set those aside. We'll no longer need those. Okay, there's our old rotor. The main reason I'm changing these brakes is these rotors have been turned once before, and I'm experiencing a bit of wobble in the wheel at high-speed braking or when you're coming off the freeway. So I went ahead and got a four-wheel brake kit for this. And I'm going to go ahead and change out everything. I've already done the rears. If you've seen my other video on that. Pretty straightforward, simple process similar to this. I'm going to go ahead and scrape off this rust here on the hub so the new rotor has a nice, clean, rust-free surface. It's going to take probably a lot more scrubbing. Just want to get some of this loose material off so it doesn't just keep building up over time. There we go. See some of that dust coming off of there. Clean those threads up. Get all that gunk that builds up in there off. Not going to be able to get every little thing off, but that should be good enough. Okay, now on to our caliper. What we're going to have to do is open up and make room because we got new pads. So what I like to do is use the old pad and press against it. So what I'm going to do is remove this outside pad, and I'm going to use my channel locks to press on our old pad. Okay, these things right here. So open those up. Let's see here, probably have to go this way. There we go, there's a good spot to support it. Looks like this way is the way we need to go. Okay. make it easy, you're going to need to open it up all the way. There we go. Looks like we got it all the way there. All right. And now our new brake kit. Now we can go ahead and pop out our inside pad here, our old inside pad. Be careful not to pop out the hardware as well. So now make sure we keep this so we can figure out the orientation. Okay, so they went like that. Okay, now the hardware. If you watched my other video, it definitely wasn't easy getting the hardware out on the rear. But the front here, definitely a lot easier. Okay, now one thing I noticed on the hardware, there's two different sets. One side, as you can see, has this little notch here. See if we can get that in there. Yeah, this little guy right here. Whereas the other side is smooth. You can see the difference there. Let's try to compare the new on new so you can see it. So make sure you know which one you pulled out and which one you're replacing. So we pulled out this one. We need to match up with one that's identical to it. Okay, that looks identical. Since we have it's pretty easy to put in, I imagine. Yeah, since we have these out and they're pretty easy to install, I'm going to go ahead and put the lube that comes with it. It's a ceramic high temp silicone brake grease for these connecting points here where they the pads contact the hardware here. So in here a little bit on the back side. Not too much. You don't want gunk in there, but you do want some sort of lubricant. The pad is going to be sliding around in there. Get a little bit more here. Okay. Okay. That should be more than enough. Looks like I'm missing a spot there. Okay. Now we just go ahead and reinstall that on the same side we popped the other one out of. As these little kind of pre-tension tabs kind of push down. And it takes some force to get it in there. They are hard to fit in, that's for sure. Okay, well that side's almost in. This side does not want to go at all. I just needle nose pliers here and push these in. So with the rears we had trouble getting the old hardware out, and with these we're having trouble getting the new hardware in. There we go. They're just very, very tight fitting in it. There we go. Work them in there. It's not bend anything. Oh, there we go. Okay. Let's make sure that's all the way in there. Yes. And yes. Okay. Now we'll go ahead and pop the hardware out on the other side. Much easier than the rears. We got a little bit more room with these calipers. The rears we had no room at all. So as you can see, this one is the smooth surface. So we need to get the one from our kit that matches that. As you can see right here, we have the two smooth ends, not the ones with the hump. We'll go ahead and do the same to this hardware as well. go ahead and lube up the parts where the pads are going to sit in and slide. Top, all three sides of this little cradle. Now this lube here came with the brake pad set. Now this is what they recommended putting in these points. I've used this stuff before. If you use anything that's not a high temp ceramic grease, it's going to spread, contaminate the pads, and basically prematurely ruin your brake job. Let's see, that should be enough right there. Okay, so let's see how this one goes in. If we have any issues with it fitting, or if it goes in relatively easily. That side lines up. Whoops. This side. Oh. Right away, that was definitely easier. Okay, it snapped right into place. Okay, now what's left is to install our pads. As you can see here, we have our new hardware installed. Let's see if I can get this up close. See, the new hardware is in there. There we go. Piston is pushed all the way back. Now what's left is to get our new pads installed. Okay, and like I said, we take what we took out and match it up. That looks like that. And that looks like that one. Okay, so we'll go ahead, put a little bit more grease on these two contact points on here. This is the part that's going to be sliding in and out, this little tab here. Just a little bit so it's not bone dry. Might help with our install just a tad. Just a little bit here. Get on the edges. Okay. And what I did was noted the orientation of the pad I took out. This is the one on the piston. So I want to match this one up with the same direction. So you want to the new hardware is tight, which is what's making this a little more difficult than popping them out. Oh, I see what's going on. There's a little tab back there that needs to clear the new pad. There we go. On the one side only. Okay, so that's your tension that you got to look out for. These little tabs here on the hardware there on that side. Let me point it out here. This tab right here, when you slide the pad in, you just need to move this a little bit to clear so the pad can slide through. Alright, so that one's done. We'll do the same to this one. Put just a little bit of lube around these corners here. Just enough. Oh, it's not dry when it's sliding in. Okay. Now this one, we orient like this. Same thing. And let's see, do we have to move that tab? Probably as well. Have to move that tab on this side as well. Oh, yep, sure enough. And there it is. Okay, so now we have our brake pads installed. Let's get this in here so you can see. Got new pads, top and back, with new hardware. Go ahead and support this. There we go. And now we'll install our new rotor. This is the new rotor. I've already sprayed it and degreased it already. So kind of want to figure out where our original holes were. There we go. Okay. I don't know if these will help us or not. I don't think they'll go all the way in, but help hold it in place a little bit. There we go. I'll put two of those on to hold it in place so we can get the caliper positioned properly. Sometimes the rotors will hold themselves in place, but not in this particular instance. It wants to flop around. Okay. So it looks like everything is good. Let's go ahead and slide this back over. Hopefully we have enough clearance with our new pads. Just right. Alright, now you install the top bolt. Make sure we line it up properly. There we go. You should be able to get everything in finger tight. If you don't, then you have a problem. You're cross-threading something. There we go. You can feel it engage. Alright, now tighten your caliper bolts. Oops, got that the wrong way. Whoops. I will fire my wrench going the right direction. Okay. Okay, now I'll get the bottom one. I like to get them snug before I torque them into place all the way. Okay. And the torque spec on these is about 40 foot-pounds. You don't want to overdo it. They weren't that hard to get off in the first place. And you want to make sure you can get them off again, and you don't want to cross thread and break them or over tighten them and strip them. So there we go. That should be in place. I'll go ahead and take these off. Now all we got left to do is reinstall our wheel and move on to the other side. So there you have it. That's how you change the front brakes on a 2005 Lexus RX330. We changed the brake pads, the hardware, and the rotor. Well, I hope this video was helpful and makes you feel confident enough to challenge it on yourself. If you have any questions or comments, please feel free to leave them below. And don't forget to hit that subscribe button. Thank you very much for watching. Hope you enjoyed.